The University of Minnesota, with 124 years of proud football tradition, but this year has been a challenge, a new coach and a new system. Last year, North Dakota State had a chance for an upset in a defensive struggle, but the Bison 42-yard field goal blocked at the end. The headlines in the paper here this week blared the Bison are coming, and they're right. North Dakota State brings a stampede of fans. The kickoff is next. Live from the Metrodome in Minneapolis, the Gophers against the Bison. And the Bison, they brought a bunch. Pick a number, 22, 23, 24,000 fans here for the yellow and green. Meanwhile, back home, if local media reports can be believed, there's been a run all week long on satellite TV installation. The bars and the restaurants opened up early. There are parties back home. It's a party here in the Dome. So if you're watching back in Fargo, we say good morning. Hi again, everybody. Chris Martin is alongside. The revenge factor cannot be underplayed at all. It's been 364 days since these two teams went at it. A defensive struggle, a blocked 42-yard field goal at the end. That was the difference. So the Bison, they've waited a long time.
No, they haven't. They've had a fire in their belly. They played well enough to win. They did everything they should have, but go out and win the game. So they come in here very confident. They know that they can take a victory.
Let's talk about Minnesota. 0-4 in the Big Ten Conference, 1-6 overall. They've lost 3 games by a total of 3 points, including last week's dramatic double overtime loss when Tim Brewster went for the 2-point conversion and Minnesota came up short. He said, guys, I do it again today. I'll do it again next week. But on the positive side of things for Minnesota, they seem to have found themselves a quarterback.
Well, Adam Weber has been sensational. He understands his offense. It's a rhythm, timing, and accuracy type of offense, and he has been masterful. Last week, he threw for 5 touchdowns, ran for 1. He has to make great decisions with the ball today, Jim, and spread it around to his wide receivers.
Meanwhile, for Craig Bowl and the Bison of North Dakota State, they come in ranked number 1, Division I AA. They average about 41 points a game. They are an offensive juggernaut, and that's not good news for Minnesota because they're not very deep defensively. Heck, they couldn't stop Chris Martin.
Oh, gosh. Well, it's a downhill offense for the Bison. They want to pound the football. They're going to come out and attack, and Walker's going to get it done. You talk to the coaches about him. They say he has all the intangibles, and he loves to play on the big stage. We'll see if he can get it done today.
Speaking of the big stage, there are 33 young men from the state of Minnesota that play for North Dakota State. Didn't get a look by the maroon and gold. They've got something to prove. Their families are watching. The kickoff is next. Big Ten Network Football is brought to you by U.S. Bank, home of the 5-star service guarantee. By Cooper Tires, don't give up a thing. And by Buffalo Wild Wings, you have to be here.
We have had a great week of practice, haven't we? We got tremendous confidence. You know exactly what you got to do. Am I right? Yes, you know exactly what you got to do. We don't go out there and think. We go out there and hit anything that moves, right? We make sure they understand that what? We are the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, man. We are the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers. And you let it ride, man. Let it ride. Let it all hang out. And you know what we'll do, guys?
Singing at the end, baby.
We will choke their ass out. We will get our victory, and we will sing the rouser.
Let the game begin. 57 years young. He had his birthday last Saturday. What a way to celebrate the birthday in Evanston in that double overtime loss. Let's check in on the sidelines. Here's our colleague, Marshall Harris.
Well, Jim, of course, maroon and gold, that's the colors that you expect to see in the stands. But as you mentioned, a lot of green and gold in the stands. Kind of makes you wonder who's left in North Dakota to watch the game when you look around in the stands. One big thing about this game is it is the Super Bowl, and the fans and the players are treating it as such. Yes, they are number 1 in the football championship series subdivision, but the big thing is they can't play in the postseason this year. That means this is, for all intents and purposes, the biggest game of the year. And the Minnesota papers, they tell the set headlines when you look and see things like, here come the Bison and stifle this stampede. Of course, Tim Brewster, more than aware, the 33 guys you talked about that are Minnesota Minnesota natives on North Dakota State's roster. None of them were offered a scholarship here at the University of Minnesota, and that means they're all playing with a chip on their shoulder. Jim?
Head coach, 49 years age, out of Lincoln, Nebraska. He went to East High School, 39 up and 11 down in his 5th season. And Tim Brewster, of course, just not the way things were planned when he took over back in January, the 17th to be exact of this year, the 26th head coach in the storied program here. 124 years of Golden Gopher football. Bebo, Sean Bebo, the sophomore from White Bear Lakes, Minnesota, one of those 33 youngsters with the kick, short kick, and good field position for Minnesota to start just shy of their own 40-yard line. Riley. So it's young Adam Weber. What a game he had. There are the stats. 18 touchdowns, 14 picks. But last week he threw for 5. He ran for another. Had a career last week against Northwestern.
And Jim, he's really finding his groove as a quarterback. He understands the offense very well. He's good from the neck up, so you know he doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Improved his feet and his vision work last week against the Wildcats. Fakes the handoff, rolls off to the left, dumps it off to the tight end. That's Jack Simmons, his 11th catch of the year. Simmons, 6'4", 240, the junior out of Libertyville, Illinois. Let's take a look now, Chris, at that offense. First, Wheelwright. He had a great game last week, stepped it up big, 7 catches, 116 yards. Brinkhouse anchors the offensive line. It was the freshman mistake, Alford, last week that allowed the Wildcats to put pressure on Weber when that 2-point conversion failed. 1st and 10, just across midfield. Weber tried to set up the screen, now finds an open man. That's Wheelwright, 1st and 10, Minnesota. Ernie Wheelwright, we talked about his 116 yards, 3 touchdowns last week against the Northwestern Wildcats.
And when you get a chance to get Weber on the ground, you have to get him on the ground. That time, Joe Mays, the Mike linebacker, middle linebacker, he has a pathway, but you see how strong Weber is in eluding, sidestepping, putting the ball on the numbers to Wheelwright.
Wheelwright averaging 12.5 yards a catch. That was a 29-yard reception. 1st and 10, Minnesota. Just inside the Bison 20. Decker in motion. Decker on the flea flicker, wide open. Touchdown, Minnesota. Ralph Spry. 2nd touchdown catch of the year for the freshman out of Auburn, Alabama. A 29-yard scoring strike, 20-yard scoring strike. Decker on the flea flicker.
And what a beautiful call by offensive coordinator Mike Dunbar. When you're a team that's in a desperate position, you will pull out all stops. Excellent timing and running that. And then Decker just letting the play unfold before he delivered a beautiful pass to Spry in the end zone.
So the point after, and just like that, what a quick start. 13:58 left to go in quarter number 1. Great call, that spread offense by Mike Dunbar, the spread coast. Another look.
Well, you get a reverse action here, but watch Decker allowing the play to develop. Gets Spry behind the safety who falls asleep. What a play to start it off for Minnesota. Again, holding the ball there, letting the receiver get down the field. Dunbar starting this thing off with a bang.
Mike Dunbar will turn 57 this New Year's Eve, known for that spread coast offense. You get the feeling the Gophers are trying to make up for what happened last week in your hometown of Evanston and make their mark early?
Well, they're attacking, and they know that they're playing against a speed defense that likes to come down. That time the safety's a little too aggressive. Didn't see the wide receiver running on the fade route. You talk about the intensity, you can see it here. These guys are fired up. They know they don't give up big plays. You let someone come out to shoot and hit you big. Are you going to be resilient to bounce back?
That is Joe Lardino out of New Franklin, Wisconsin, the junior who was having his say in the middle of that defensive fray over there. There's Mike Dunbar, known as the wily veteran. Pulled one out there. 13:58 to go. Bison will try to answer. They'll start just shy of their own 20-yard line. Shaman Washington, he can fly if he gets some blockers, can't he?
He's electric. He's one of those guys fun to watch on tape.
Steve Walker, 6'1½", the senior quarterback out of Lockhart, Illinois. 6 interceptions on the year, but 11 touchdowns. His longest 75 yards. Completing about 72% of his passes.
No, it's staggering what he's doing. He's thrown 688 passes and only been intercepted 15 times, so he's deadly accurate. He'll have to be today.
Heckendorf wide to the left. North Dakota State, they have scored 5 of their first 6 possessions, so they are just like Minnesota, looking to get out to a fast start. There goes Tyler Roll. He just fell down. Hightower on the tackle for Minnesota. The wide receivers, keep an eye on Heckendorf. Belquist has been the favorite receiver, 20 receptions, but no touchdowns. Buckman, 76, anchors things on the right side, the 300-pound sophomore at right tackle. 2nd and 12 after that loss of 2. Schulten over, wide to the left. Pulled down near the 23. Not much doing for the sophomore. And a look at that Gopher defense. They're not very deep. Lee Campbell, he's been solid all year long, though. Hightower starts in the middle. We expect to see Sherrills, but the game situation will dictate how much or how little. And Dominic Barber, you couldn't have a better young man.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a very physical safety. And right out the chute here, North Dakota State doesn't want to find themselves in 3rd and long.
Looking at 3rd and 7. Belquist was to the left, out of the backfield. Tyler Roll. Roll explodes, breaks it at the 40. Across midfield. Roll on a roll. How about the blocking on the right-hand side? We talked about Keith Buckman, the 300-pound sophomore. Harrington, 56, the veteran center. 76 yards.
How about the blocking, the execution, and the physical style of running? It looked like a PlayStation video game with guys bouncing off Tyler Roll. Again, he's physical, but then you see the burst of speed.
Have you ever seen 228 pounds move like that?
He was moving.
That was impressive.
And the safeties couldn't close on him. They couldn't eat up the angle. Sean
Bebo, the sophomore, ties things up. An explosive start. The Gophers score first. And at 12:23, the Bison, they brought a bunch, but none better than the number 40. We're tied when we come right back on your Big Ten Network. An unbelievable start to the game. One of the things that the Minnesota defensive coaches were concerned about, poor tackling techniques. In fact, Tim Brewster was talking about the art of tackling being a lost art yesterday when we went to practice. Nobody could close on Tyler Roll.
Well, and that's been the nemesis for him the last couple of weeks, is poor tackling, taking bad angles to the football, and so much so, Jim, that they're going back having tackling circuits during the week of practice.
Marcus Sherrills, 24, explodes across the 20 and is upended near the 25-yard line. Let's take another look. Now, it was ruled a lateral, right?
Well, you'll see it here, though. It was a lateral, but watch this poor tackling. You know, stop it right there. You'll see that he's just throwing his shoulder in there. He has his head down and doesn't wrap up the running back. And if you want to know what keeps Minnesota's coaches up at night, it's lack of tackling and bad fundamentals. Pursuit angles on the backside weren't there. And give props to Tyler Roll, because he was flying down the sideline.
Gophers called a play from the sideline. Decker wide to the top of your screen. 1st and 10 Minnesota. We're all square at 7 apiece. Just shy of the 25. Jay Thomas upended, the sophomore, out of Tartan High School in Oakdale, Minnesota. What do you like about this defense now for North Dakota State?
Well, they play fast. First off, it's an undersized defense, but their linemen can run. Their linebackers go sideline to sideline. In their safeties, they like to walk them down. They close to the ball, Jim, so you don't see a lot of big runs. And they said, in talking to the coach, William Matt Garza, he said, we do not give up big plays.
Will Wright, top of the screen. Gophers looking at 2nd and 8. Weber yanks it down, misfires, incomplete at the 40, looking in the direction of Eric Decker. All right, let's take a look now at the Suzuki keys to the game.
Well, we've already seen North Dakota State. They want to get downhill, and you saw it earlier, with the run to roll, and they want to control the clock. If you can run the ball effectively, you have control, you can keep Minnesota's offense off of the field. And then for Minnesota, they can't give up big plays. Well, we've already seen that on the last run play, and then they have to develop consistency on offense, and Weber's got to lead the charge.
North Dakota State showing blitz. Weber in trouble, tries to dance out of it, and down as they were coming. 6 Bison closed. Gratzek the first to get there out of Argyle, Minnesota, the freshman. We talk about those 33 kids, those Minnesota kids stepping up.
Well, you have a tightening pocket here. Weber, he feels the rush upfield, but good penetration by the front 4 of the Bison. He has nowhere to run.
This will be the 34th punt of the season for number 41, Justin Kusick, averaging about 44 yards per kick. That one was short. And North Dakota State starts in great field position, just at their own 40-yard line. We've got 10:58 left to go. First quarter. Chris Martin's alongside. Glad you're on board. North Dakota State getting the equalizer. We're all tied 7-all after the Gophers scored on their first possession. Walker fakes the handoff, pulls it down, got his man at the 45, dancing for a first down. That's Alec Belquist. He got to the edge. Speaking of, what about the principal edge of the game?
Well, you see it, North Dakota State, they travel well. A lot of green and gold, over 20,000 fans here. And then Minnesota, 18th ranked offense. So you know that they're explosive. They've shown it already. They've only run the ball once in the last drive. So it's a lot of vertical passing, working the crossing routes.
Everett Withers, the defensive coordinator for Minnesota, said it was fun to watch the North Dakota State tape, to look at smash mouth football. They just run right at you. There goes Roll. Blocking over on the right side. Harrington, Buckman. That 76-yard touchdown run by Tyler Roll, his longest of the year. His previous longest was 60 coming in.
Well, and you mentioned Coach Everett Withers, defensive coordinator for Minnesota. Minnesota's faced some spread attacks the last couple of weeks, so this is a fundamentally different type of team that they're playing. They have to come back, match the physicality of the Bison.
You liken North Dakota State's offense. He said it's fun football when the other team's trying to bloody your nose. It's fun getting ready. 2nd and 5. Hole on the right side, blocking by Buckman again. Pashal out of St. Louis, the sophomore, number 2, scampers.
You see the Bison trying to establish line dominance, particularly on the right side, where they have their tight end in the game as well, Wurzbacher. And this is where Minnesota has to tighten their screws. And they got to get this thing out on the perimeter. They don't want Roll running between the tackles because he can hurt you.
Inside 9:50 left to go, quarter number 1. Each team scoring on their first possession. So another first down just outside the 37. Cole Heckendorf wide to the left. Walker looks over that Minnesota defense. Penalty flags are down, and so too Pashal.
Jim Pashaw's a totally different style of running back than roll. He's a guy, see the holding call there. He's a guy that's looking to get the ball on the perimeter. He has more of a burst, a little more nifty. He can run between the tackles, but ideally he's trying to get the ball outside.
Holding call against North Dakota State.
Holding, number 60, offense, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat, first down.
Jared Wagner out of Pewaukee, Wisconsin, the 6'5", 300-pound senior, number 60. That'll get a little rise out of Coach Craig, won't it?
This front line's pretty good for the Bison, though. They have size and bulk, all the measurables. 6'5", 300-pounders up front. So they don't mind getting a physical battle. 1st and 20. Heckendorf wide to the left. Roll the lone running back. Tyler Roll stacked up. Got all of that on his own near the 41-yard line. Let's go back to headquarters and check in with Dave, see what's happening with Penn State. Even you could have defended on that pass. Oh, that's cold.
2nd and 14. And Walker wants a timeout. So we've got 8:25 left to go. Each team scoring on their first possession. Bison 7 and the Gophers 7 when we come back. Seven all is our score. Welcome back on the Big Ten Network. 8:25 to go here in the Metrodome. Spotted just outside the 41-yard line. 2nd and 14. North Dakota State out of the I pro set. Majeski wide to the left. Walker pulls it down. Fires. Did he hang on? Incomplete. Down near the 28-yard line. Heckendorf had it, dropped it.
Yeah, he did, and he has to make that catch. It's a nice job of pushing his route right to the sticks on the outcut. Walker put it on the numbers. He has to hang on.
Personal foul, hands to the face, number 30 of the defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Lee Campbell, the sophomore, who the Minnesota coach is talking about, done one of the pleasant things on defense, huh?
Other than that play, because that's a costly penalty at a very bad time. The Bison on a roll. They get a chance to move the sticks here. You got to play disciplined football. Brewster knows that. He can't believe he talks to his guys, say, hey, we got to play discipline. Keep our composure.
Move the chains, 1st and 10. Spotted now just outside the 26. Majeski wide to the left. Tyler Roll stacked up near the 25-yard line. Who's number 1 in the FCS? I'm kind of liking the green and yellow, huh? Appalachian State. Of course, you know what they did to Michigan earlier this year. You saw it right here on the Big Ten Network.
A lot of good football teams in that conference.
That man there with his tailored suit and shaved head, he's become the face of North Dakota State and their renaissance. Flying all over the state in his private plane. He's visited all their high schools, preaching his goal of winning a national championship. 2nd and a long 8. Walker flares it out. First down if he dives to the chain. That's Belquist. He just slithered through 3 of the Golden Gophers.
Well, he did, and that time, Jim, it was a soft zone coverage. Minnesota has given up some big plays. You'll see a soft zone. No one takes Belquist. He does a good job sitting down in the hole and moving the sticks, or getting to the sticks, just short of the first down.
And you saw another missed tackle. That's 2 early in the game on Jamal Harris, the left cornerback, number 15.
And that just drives his coaches irate. They've worked on it. They keep hitting it. At this point in the season, you should be, well ready to tackle fundamentally and technique sound.
They will not get the first down.
And
One
that's how
Gopher, two Gophers, three. The first to get there, Dion Hightower, the junior out of Arlington, Texas, and then it was a conclave.
And that's exactly how you tackle. You form up, Tyler roll. You'll see it here. Watch the contact, and he drives through with the legs. And then you get population to the ball. You get a lot of players there. You see Minnesota. Look at his leg drive. He runs through contact. Much better job of form tackling by Hightower.
A 34-yard field goal try for the sophomore out of White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Scott Bebo, 1 for 1 from this distance. Wide to the left. Last year he hit from 30, 39, and 41, but it was that 42-yard blocked field goal. And it looks like Dion Hightower came up with that huge stop. Speaking of last year, here it was, the block. Well, this was the one just before halftime. That was from 39 yards out. And then Minnesota takes the lead, the only touchdown of the game. And then with time running out, 42 yards blocked. Gophers hang on, and 364 days later, North Dakota State, the Bison, come right back in. All square, 6:01 to go in the first quarter.
You better believe they've been counting all 364 days to get back in.
Not Weber's best pass there, was it, Pards?
No, that time he just let it fire a little too early. He had Spry open on the quick out cut. And that's what you talk about with Minnesota, is just keeping the consistency. Adam Weber has shown you he's a proven guy. He's battle tested. He understands the offense, but it's all about rhythm and timing and getting into a flow.
His dad, Bob Weber, a 3-year letterman right here at the University of Minnesota. Out of Shoreview, Minnesota. Mounds View High School, 3-time All-Stater. 2nd and 10. Decker wide to the top of the screen. Amir Penix out of Newark High School. Let's check in with Dave Revson back at our Big Ten headquarters. Well, it's nice to see some sunshine there, Dave. We can't tell. It could be snowing outside right in the dome here, right?
Well, and they need to get P.J. Hill going. So they got him out the gates early.
Looks like Flag Day down at the 20-yard line. Clock stop.
66, offense. 5-yard penalty, remains.
Well, Jim, you expect that when you have a game with such intensity and emotion. These players are all fired up to a man, but they have to keep their composure.
The frustration on Tim Brewster's face evident with every error, whether it's a penalty, a turnover. It's not the way they had hoped to begin their season. That double overtime loss to Bowling Green, a double overtime loss last week to Northwestern. Little flare, Eric Decker out of Cold Spring, Minnesota, but he is sandwiched by Mike Maresh out of Champlin, Minnesota. Another Minnesota kid. We can't emphasize that enough. 33 on the roster for this impressive North Dakota State team.
Well, and as a former player, you better believe that these guys have a chip on their shoulder. They feel like they were good enough to play at Minnesota, so they want to come out here with an exclamation point and show everybody that.
Kick is away. Fair catch signaled for at the 28, and that's where the Bison will start. 4:34 left to go in quarter number 1. Hey, you and I think next week have Ball State at Illinois. Great lineup right here in the Big Ten Network. Northwestern at Purdue, Indiana at Wisconsin. A couple of our Saturday matchups will be in Champaign, Illinois, and Ron Zook rebounding.
Yeah, option football. Been playing well. Mendenhall's been running bananas.
So after that 53-yard punt, North Dakota State again. Around the left side, dancing down near the 33-yard line.
Interesting little wrinkle. The Bison doing a good job of mixing up their play call. They continue to rotate their offensive linemen. They're keeping guys fresh. You'll see it. They're sending in 2 and 3 different linemen.
Well, they just sent in another quarterback. That was Ryan Parsons out of Ham Lake, Minnesota, the 6'2 junior on the carry. So a pickup of 4. It's 2nd down and 6.
And you got to expect that if you're Minnesota, because you know that they don't want to run with Steve Walker. He's not as good a foot athlete. He's going to stay in the pocket. They're not going to run draws or quarterback draws with him in the game.
You folks in Fargo, that was Chris Martin, said he's not a good runner. Heckendorf running just fine, thank you. 1st down into Minnesota territory, upended at the 46, and that time that little wispy one-arm tackle of Jamal Harris actually tripped him up.
Well, this time you just get a little wide receiver screen play. And really, we talk about Minnesota not giving up big plays. Well, a big play is defined as a pass for over 18 yards. I think that one went for 20. And so this is where Coach Withers has told his guys they have to tighten up, get guys on the ground. I mean, you can't let teams sustain drive plays because of lack of tackling.
Pickup of 20 yards right there. Another 1st down for the Bison. Out of the I-Pro set. Pashal blocking on that right side. Buckman, Harrington. Don't forget, Northern Illinois will be on channel 220 on DirecTV and channel 439 on Dish, 650 on AT&T. That's Northern Illinois against Wisconsin. Some alternate channel information there after that 13-yard pickup. I've got Dish. I watched Wisconsin and Illinois women's volleyball the other night on the Big Ten Network. Very impressive.
Look at you go.
Walker pulls it back down after the double fake. Wide open and dropped at the 13-yard line. Wurzenbacher, the big tight end out of Fargo. Jeremiah Wurzenbacher had it, dropped it. Dave Revson never drops it. Let's go back to the studio. Like the camera was up in the blimp and then they zoomed down. Thank you, Dave. 2:39 left to go. 2nd and 10, spotted just at the inside the 35-yard line. Majeski motions across. Pashal. Another Bison 1st down.
Bison are running at will. What they're telling Minnesota is that, hey, we know that you know we're going to run, but we don't think you can stop us. And so far, Minnesota has struggled getting off of blocks and getting the talented running backs of the Bison on the ground.
That's what Everett Withers was talking to us about at the Minnesota compound yesterday. He said, you know, if my guys worry about making a mistake, if they play scared, they're going to be scared and they're going to make mistakes.
You can't be afraid to make a mistake when you're out there playing defense.
120 yards for North Dakota State on the ground. None for Minnesota. And we've still got 2 minutes to play in the 1st.
And credit Coach Pat Perlis, the offensive coordinator for North Dakota State. He's had a bevy of run plays, but he's also combined it with pass plays. And look at that. I mean, that is just staggering. 121 yards on the ground. But again, it's been the mixture. He's given different formation, different looks to Minnesota, and they're having a tough time responding.
When he was talking about his running back, Tyler Roll, Pat Perlis, to us earlier this week, he said, number 40. He said, no, guys, I wouldn't want to have to tackle him. 2nd and 9. Belquist wide to the left. Walker hits his big tight end, Wurzenbacher, who hangs on. Came into the game with 14 catches, 206 yards, averaging just under 15 yards per catch in the grasp of Dion Hightower, number 44.
And Jim, although that play only got 2 or 3 yards, I like it because it showed the confidence to come back to Wurzenbacher after he had the drop, showing that his quarterback still believes in him.
3rd and 4. 45 ticks left in the first quarter. Other than Minnesota's first possession, this quarter has belonged to North Dakota State. Tyler roll, big hole right side, inside the 10, dancing down to the 5. First and goal, Bison. Dominic Barber hanging on, 46 solo tackles and 16 assists. He's been rock solid, the young man from Wayzata High School in Plymouth, Minnesota. Another look.
And what Roll is showing you is that he gets his shoulders down quickly and he runs behind his pads. Look at the leg drive. I mean, he's running right through contact. It's taken 4 guys from Minnesota to get him on the ground.
Just 228, 230 if he had a couple of double burgers last night, huh?
Well, and he looks like, I mean, he's physical and he's taking the punch to Minnesota.
Play action fake. Touchdown Bison. They sent Pashal in motion. Jangula out of Williston, North Dakota. His second touchdown reception on the year for North Dakota State.
And that play, Jim, was won on the last play to Roll because he was physical. They ran the ball between the tackles, totally setting up this pass play out in the flat to Tyler Jangula. Good play call, good execution by the Bison.
Bebo with the extra point to make it a 7-point North Dakota State lead. And that comes as the final play of the first quarter. So over 20,000 fans have come from North Dakota, and they find their team ahead of the hometown Gophers in their building. Yep, the Bison brought a bunch, and they're up by 7 as we start the second stanza. (14-7) in favor of the green and yellow. They've traveled a long way and they've come in impressive numbers. We start the second stanza.
They're just playing attack style football offensively and defensively.
That was Steve Walker's 12th touchdown toss of the year, by the way, that put the Bison up 14-7. Sherrills almost broke it. Marshall, a little pari-mutuel wagering, huh?
Well, you know, the governor of North Dakota, like just about everyone else is watching this game, he's here. John Hoven joining me now. John, can you just talk a little bit about seeing your team up 7 points as we head here into the second quarter?
Well, this is fun. Dr. Chapman and I are here from NDSU, and you know, we're all behind our team. They're up 14-7. They're playing well, and we want them to keep it going.
Now, you have a lot at stake here, not just pride, but also a little side bet you made with Minnesota's governor. Tell us a little bit about that and why you decided to make that bet.
Well, Governor Tim Plenty and I have a little friendly wager. I've got some Bison steaks against his walleye fillet, and I'm counting on getting those walleye fillet. So we're excited about our team this year. They're doing a great job. Coach Bowl, and we just have a lot of great young players, and we're behind them 100%.
All right,
this is a lot of fun.
All right, thanks a lot, Governor. Jim?
Marshall, Chris Matthews has got nothing on you talking to politicians. Thank you.
Walleye fillets.
Decker wide to the left. Gophers look at 2nd and 7. Weber with the long count. Flares it out to Bennett. Bennett upended across the 35. How about that first quarter rushing? It was all Bison, huh?
No, all Bison, all downhill. They got a lot of trap plays, got outside. See it 189, 133 on the ground, but 189 in total. So again, they said they're going to come out toe-to-toe, be physical with the line of Minnesota, and so far it's working.
Wheelwright wide to the left. Gophers need 3 to move the chains. Over the middle, wide open, and Simmons could not hang on. Penalty flag is down in the backfield.
And that's one that Weber has to have. He's got to put nice touch on the ball. There was no one within 5 yards of Jack Simmons that last play.
And another Minnesota mistake. You know, we were talking to Tim Brewster yesterday at the compound. Jack Simmons, his tight end, comes into this game with only 10
Offense,
catches.
number 53. That penalty's declined. 4th down.
And given Antonio Gates and some of the tight ends that Tim Brewster has caught, you'd figure he'd figure a little bit more in the offensive scheme. He said, guys, you'll see it tomorrow.
Well, we have. We've already seen 2 or 3 balls go in the way of Simmons. That time, again, he was wide open. You'd like to see the quarterback put that ball on the numbers.
I get the idea, talking to Coach Brewster, he'd like to put the helmet on himself and go out and correct some of those mistakes.
He's a former tight end
for Illinois. Fair catch inside the 20-yard line. 14-7 is our score. Minnesota has gained 5 yards on their last 3 drives, 3 and outs. Chris Martin's alongside. Marshall Harris patrolling the sidelines. Welcome back live. The Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. Working on DJ Burris over there on the Gophers sideline. Meanwhile, 1st and 10 North Dakota State out of the I-Pro set. And there goes Tyler Roll. There is just not any maroon and gold. Look at that. He breaks another one. Loses the ball. Minnesota dives for it on the turnover. Gophers get it back inside their own territory. Roll got hammered from behind after a brilliant run.
Well, and you saw a lot of things in that play. 1, you saw poor tackling once again by Minnesota. 2, you still lacked of ball security by Roll once he hit the perimeter. And again, watch the poor tackling. You got guys in position to make plays, and they're not making them. And that's what we talked to Brewster about yesterday. You know, here their guys are doing, you know, they end up getting fortunate because they caught the ball up, but get the running back on the ground. Got to protect the football.
Dominic Barber fell on the loose ball, so the Gophers get it right back after the turnover. 13-14 to go before halftime. Jay Thomas, big hole right side behind Alford and Brinkhouse. Blocking by 76 and 77 in the grasp finally of Kyle Belmont and Tyler Henry. Gophers are not real deep at the running back spot. Jay Thomas is down.
He's had some guys dinged up, and he shows you what a burst he plays with. Hitting that quick dive. Good cutback ability.
Out of Tartan High School in Oakdale, Minnesota, Jay Thomas came in averaging 5.2 yards a carry and 1 touchdown. Longest run from scrimmage, 36 yards for the personable sophomore there. Looked like he jammed a leg or a knee, huh? So we will see some more of the senior captain out of Newark High School. Malcolm X Shabazz High School, to be specific. The 5th-year senior, number 29, Amir Penix. And another look. Ooh.
Awkward fall. We talked to the coaches, though, from North Dakota State about Minnesota's offense, and they said either they're a team that they're going to make a quick strike down the field or they're going to go 3 and out. So that tells me that they don't believe Minnesota can sustain drives down the field.
They made that quick strike on their first possession. 3 plays, 60 yards for the opening touchdown. Weber upended at the 35-yard line, the redshirt freshman. Back to our veteran, Dave Revson, in the studio. Inside 12 and a half left before halftime. Thank you, Dave. 2nd and 8. Gophers ball. Decker wide to the left. Flood formation to the right. Penix 29, the running back. And the senior veteran explodes over the left side, blocking by Steve Scheidel and Tavali. Your sophomore strong safety, Kyle Belmont, had to come up. Huge hole left side.
Well, I think you can get through this one, Jim. You see that thing part wide open, nothing but green pastures. It's a fast-flowing defense, so they're able to wrap him up. Good job by the offensive lineman opening up the holes for Penix.
13-yard carry. Eric Decker comes wide to the left. From the 22. Penix, convoy around the right, inside the 20. Upended at the 17. Here's a look now at the yield guard BT triple Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week.
Been active, 2.5 tackles for loss, 18 tackles flying around, and playing with his hair on fire for the Hawkeyes.
Minnesota, they have the Hawkeyes at Iowa in 3 weeks. Brutal schedule at Michigan next week, Illinois here, and then at Iowa. Not much doing for Penix. You know, he had such a great sense of humor. You and I and Marshall, we talked to him yesterday over at the compound. I said, you guys are not, I mean, he and Dominic Barber going at each other, jiving, talking some smack. Right? I said, you guys don't act like a 1-6 team. He said, hey, you got to count on your teammates in good times and bad, and the sense of humor of both of them was very evident.
Oh yeah, and then they exerted themselves as leaders. They know that they have to keep this team banded together mathematically. They still have a chance to get to postseason play, so they want to keep these guys enthused and into the game.
And keep them loose. 3rd and 4. Weber with a double pump. Decker's got it near the 12. Should depend on the spot. Close to first down yardage there.
Well, and this is where you'd like to see your young receiver Decker run this route with a little bit more detail, meaning he needs to know exactly where the sticks is. He cuts this cut out 1 yard short. He's got to know where he's at on the field and find the marker. He pushes this thing 1 more yard, he gets the first down.
I don't know which governor's bet you're going with, but I'm betting on Tim Brewster going for it on 4th down here after the measurement. Now we'll apparently review that catch to see if he had possession when he went out of bounds.
Just a simple out route to Decker. I want to see if he got his foot down. Looked clean to me. He caught the ball clean. He didn't double catch it. The only thing I'd say to that is that make sure you get the yards, know where the sticks are, field awareness. Push it past the sticks and come back.
Talking about Coach Craig Bowl there, the name and faces. You take another look. I think that's a catch.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
You know, Coach Bowl actually interviewed for Tim Brewster's job here after Glenn Mason got the axe at the University of Minnesota. But Coach Bowl was talking. He said, we've got the guys now at North Dakota State who wanted to be here, the guys who wanted to work hard. We made sure that they had what they needed to become successful. He steps up their football program, doing a terrific job.
You know, and they've taken on his personality. And Coach Bowles done a good job of rubbing his personality off on the team.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. We did have a catch. It will be a first down. The placement of the ball was short. It will be first down.
I didn't think there was any doubt that it was a catch to begin with. Did you?
Exactly. It looks short, though, the first down marker.
He pulls it in. He's not bobbling the ball at all. Foot's down. In fact, 2 feet are down.
That's a great look at it by the camera crew.
Decker wide to the left. Gophers driving for what they hope will be the tying touchdown. 10.5 to go before halftime. Scores, highlight. Dave Revson, Jerry, Howard, the whole gang back at Big Ten Network headquarters at the intermission. Penix upended inside the 6-yard line. Dave is a busy man. What game? You're back in the studios a couple nights a week. How many monitors is Jerry and Dave and Howard? How many monitors they have back?
About 3 different camera shots there. It's a fun studio, great crew, all good football IQs.
Decker puts it in the midsection of Penix and then crosses inside the 5, close to the 3-yard line.
That's the thing that sometimes gets lost about Adam Weber. He is athletic. He moves around well in the pocket. He slides, and he has good footwork. So you saw that was a design draw play. He can find the crease.
Coach Brewster, he said, we don't want Adam Weber throwing the ball 44, 45, 46 times. 28 to 30, that's about right to hit the balance that they want.
It's a spread attack, but you still have to run the football successfully or your offense becomes predictable.
3rd and 2. Penix just keeps those knees churning, gets near the 3-yard line, but shy of first down yardage. Now this will be an interesting call. 4th and a good yard for Tim Brewster.
I think you got to kick the field goal, particularly with history, and he's calling timeout to cogitate over it as well. With the history they've had, particularly last week,
Timeout.
he wants to think this
Minnesota, their first charge timeout. This will be immediate timeout.
I'm going to the dictionary to find out what cogitate means. Coach Brewster was out there talking to his offensive unit. They're going for it on 4th and 1. Not a surprise. If you go for the 2-point conversion on the road in Evanston, you're at home. You're trying to get the crowd back into it. You're also playing for your seniors. He talked about that yesterday. He said the seniors are dear to me, and I'm trying to get them to play 13 games.
Yeah, this is moxie here, but your offense has also been sporadic. You don't have history on your side. You've been bulleted for doing just this. I disagree with the call.
Play action fake, the bootleg. Adam Weber will get close to the first down. I think he's got it.
Looked like he was at, yeah, he did pick it up. I still disagree with the call, and again, Coach Brewster showing the fire that he has, because this thing was fairly covered up. Linebacker stays outside and forces Weber inside from where the help's coming from. Then you could stop the play. Weber, good job of being headsy.
He knew where he had to get to.
Exactly.
Extended on the dive. 1st and goal for the Gophers. Decker in motion across. Penix. Touchdown, Minnesota.
But when you're a team that's desperate and scratching and clawing for a win, as Minnesota is, you don't keep your plays in your playbook. You bring everything out, you fight, and that's what Coach Brewster wants to show his guys. He wants to show, I believe in you, so when it gets down and dirty and we need a yard, I have complete confidence in you guys to do it.
Joel Monroe, an extra point away from squaring things at 14 all. 8:16 to go before halftime. Penix, the 5th-year senior, talking about staying loose, about having short memories after mental errors and mistakes. Talked about the control that Adam Weber displays in the huddle. He just grinned yesterday at practice. He said, hey, we don't worry about him. He's a redshirt freshman, but he's growing every game, and that time blocking on the right-hand side. Alford, Brinkhouse, and another look. 5th rushing touchdown of the year. And another look at the 4th down on the naked bootleg, huh?
Yeah, if you keep outside contained and force Weber back inside to the flowing defense, you have a chance. But credit Weber, as you said, for having the headiness to know exactly how many yards he needed.
All square, 14 all. Looked like a track meet when things got underway. I didn't think there was any doubt that Coach Brewster was going to go for it. Trying to right the ship.
Well, he's trying to right the ship, but also to show his players that he believes in them categorically. And when it's all on the line, he's willing to put his chips on the table.
5th rushing touchdown of the season for Penix, number 29. Monroe will boot it from the 30. All even, 14 all. High, end over end, at the 3. Drop, scooped up, barely gets it back to the 14-yard line. It's the show for all Big Ten fans, featuring highlights, analysis, interviews, and much, much more. The Big Ten tonight, every night, right here on the Big Ten Network. That's a fun show to do. You're in the studio a couple of nights. Tom Zach was in there, right?
Oh, yeah. We had a lot of fun. That was Tuesday night.
With his bifocals?
Yeah.
Now, you don't have a teleprompter.
Nope. I just work off the top of my head on that show.
Telestrator, yes. Teleprompter,
right.
no. Thank you, Paul. 1st and 10. Heckendorf, wide top of your screen. Steve Walker pulls it down. Flares it out. 1st down, Bison, and much, much more. Upended at the 39-yard line. Alex Belquist out of New Rockford, North Dakota. Let's go back to the studio again. Dave Revson. Impressive. Thank you, Dave. That 25-yard 1st down toss from Steve Walker sets up North Dakota State at their own 39-yard line.
And you know the Bison love to do rollout passes, particularly to the left side of their offensive line.
Double pump. Steve Walker didn't see the trailing men there from Minnesota. Steve Davis, the junior out of St. Louis, and McCluver North High School, the junior, caught him from behind.
And Walker's got to feel that pressure breathing down on him when he's rolling out. Time he was looking for his tight end, nothing was available. Minnesota has to have a big stand here defensively, and they're looking for somebody to step up and make plays. Talking to Coach Withers, he said the one frustrating thing is that guys have been in position to make plays, and they just have failed to do so.
From the 38. Huge hole left side. Jared Wagner, Nate safe. Harrington opening things up for Paschal.
When he hits the hole, he hits it with a vengeance. Just an inside trap once again. He gets top speed right away, but this is a big tackle in open space by Curtis Thomas. If he doesn't make that tackle, it's curtains.
He's the freshman out of Aldine High School, Aldine, Texas. Coach Withers, he was pretty honest. He said, we're not very deep. He said, we've got too deep on the depth chart because we've got to put some names and some bodies there. But he said, there's some spots we go one deep and that's it.
Well, they've had a tough time tackling in space. That time, right in the open field, Thomas does a nice job.
Steve Walker had all kinds of time and then had to pull it down. Let's go down on the sidelines. Marshall.
Minnesota's running back situation just got a lot worse, y'all. Jay Thomas down here, been told he is out for the game, a severe right knee injury. And by the way he responded with tears, I'm thinking it's going to be a lot more severe than just a one-game injury. Several of his teammates came over to console him, including Don Barber. So Jay Thomas out for the game. That means it's DeJuan Bennett and, of course, Amir Penix. We may see a little bit of Valentine also out of the fullback spot, move up to tailback.
Thank you, Marshall, for that update. Tough break for Jay Thomas. 2nd and 10. Bison ball for Brown. Wide to the left. Binko out of Imperial, California, the sophomore running back, only 5'7", about $180, dripping wet.
Yeah, he's a nice change of pace back. He's very nifty. He's good at finding the creases and gives you just a different look.
North Dakota State, 189 on the ground. Minnesota doing it through the air with the arm of Adam Weber. For Brown. Wide to the left. Paschal gets hit. Penetration that time, that linebacking core. John Shevlin and Mike Sherrills is back in there, number 58. Weren't sure at practice yesterday how much of Sherrills we were going to see. Game situation would dictate, huh?
Well, he did a nice job of flowing to the ball. Look at the number of guys that Minnesota gets to the running back. worry about tackling? Well, it starts with effort and hustling and getting to the ball. Sherrill's led the crew that time.
Senior out of Rochester, Minnesota, helped out by Garrett Brown of New Haven, Connecticut. First punt of the game. They've only punted 15 times. I mean, it's seven games in, 5:05 before halftime.
And one of the best punters
Delay
in the
game.
country.
Offense, number 88.
They'll be happy to tack on the 5 yards
The
because
penalty will be declined. Penalties declined. Remains 4th down.
Mike averages 45.6 yards per kick. His longest has been 70 yards, and he's put 6 inside the 20.
Well, he's one of the best punters in the country on any level. I had a chance to watch him in the warm-ups before the game. He has a lot of pop and sizzle in his leg.
He's got a little Ray Guy in him when you talk about that pop and sizzle, and physically he resembles the.
He's 6'6", so he's a tall, lanky kid. He can get some air under it too. See if Decker has a tough time fielding it.
Hangs it high, angles for the far sideline, gets this one out of bounds inside the 20 again. That's his 7th inside the 20 and only 6 punts for the Bison all year long. Great effort. Marshall Harris down on the sidelines here at the Metrodome. Chris Martin up here helping to call the action. Glad you're on board on the Big Ten Network. We've got a dandy. Gophers scored first. Bison came roaring right back. Then North Dakota State took a 14-7 lead. Pinnock punched it in, and we're all square at 14 all. From their own 4. Weber in the end zone. Backpedals, looks over the middle. Misfires. He had Simmons wide open. Time now for our Cargill passing combination tonight's or this afternoon's passing combination. Mr. Martin.
I see Weber to Wheelwright. W to W. Those guys are in sync. Wheelwright has been playing at a high level, and we had a chance to talk to the coaches about him. They said his preparation has been much better. He's a student of the game. He's watching more tape and really giving good effort in practice. Coach Brewster said, how you practice is how you'll play on Saturday.
Little inside handoff and around the left-hand side. That was number 22, Dewan Bennett. Wheelwright last week, 7 catches, none better than this one just before halftime.
Well, it was a great layout, and he's 6'5", so you know he attacks the ball. He can run the underneath routes. He likes to go vertical. He's very athletic, too, so you know he likes to high point the ball. You see him go get it that time. He's been a luxury. He's a big body, a big target for Adam Weber.
He's been in Coach Brewster's crosshairs all season long. Doesn't always practice like he plays on Saturday. First down for Minnesota across the 22-yard line. Sam Boris out of Zumbroza, Minnesota, made the hit. Number 12, watch the hole from behind. Watch 77 and 76 with big blocks.
Well, they cleared out. They put the defensive line on roller skates. Again, Weber has good feel. He finds the lane. And to go back to Wheelwright just for a second, you know, he has so much athletic ability naturally. Coaches just wanted to see that continue to bleed over into his work ethic consistently during the week of practice.
First and 10 as Weber pulls it down, looks. Decker dropped at the 40. Fans want a flag, and there are none. One of the things Tim Brewster was talking to us about, the practice habits of Wheelwright. He said he's never seen a great football player that didn't practice hard, and he's trying to impart that. He really wanted the senior to step up. I mean, this man on your screen, he's been good, he's been bad, he's been indifferent all season long.
Yeah, he has, and you'll see this is just a seam route. They get everything they wanted. Decker just can't put a handle on it. The offense has not seemed to be in sync. Fairly good coverage by the Bison.
Bennett explodes across the 30, up near the 35-yard line. Was that Weber?
Yeah.
I thought it was DeJuan Bennett. That was Weber who pulled it in.
Yeah, he
11 yards.
He faked the dive action that time, Jim, and kept it. Nice little wrinkle. You see he has 33 yards. He's rushed for 80 yards or more, I believe, 2 times this year. They like to get him involved in the run game.
Willie Mac Garza calling the defensive signals for North Dakota State. Big hole left side across the 40 near the 42-yard line. Finally in the grasp of Joe Mays out of Chicago, Illinois. Chicago Hyde Park High School. What a senior year he had in high school at Chicago Hyde Park. 115 tackles, 16 quarterback sacks.
Joe Mays is a guy that, in studying the tape, he's the one guy that jumps out right away when you watch film on him. He's very instinctive, eye instinctive and intelligent, and he's fast at flowing to the football.
2nd and 3 for the Gophers.
Get up in there.
Another Minnesota first down. That's Bennett out of Fairview Heights, Illinois. O'Fallon Township High School. Big hole around that left side. Steve Scheidel, 64. Tavalli, 66, doing the blocking.
Steve Bennett's been productive. And one of the things, Jim, I think the misconceptions about the spread attack is that people sometimes don't realize that you have to establish a run game as well. And you can't just go out and air it out every play because your offense becomes way too predictable.
Sherrills wide to the left on 1st and 10. Decker, a sliding grab inside the 30. 1st and 10 for Minnesota. Kyle Belmont was back there on the coverage. Another Minnesota for the Bison out of Battle Lake, Minnesota. Look at number 15.
And this is actually great ball placement. He throws this one low and out front, allows the receiver Decker to make a play on it. He's the only one that can have a chance at this ball. Good placement by Adam Weber.
Inside 2 minutes before halftime. Gophers trying to take the lead at home. They expected a crowd in excess of 60,000. A third of those from North Dakota State after that pickup of 25. Weber, left corner of the end zone. Decker, either he broke a little late or Adam Weber threw it a little early. Hey, Big Ten fans, enter the BCS Bound for the Big Easy sweepstakes for your chance to win a trip to the 2008 All-State BCS National Championship game in New Orleans. An HD TV or other great prizes, and for more, log on to bcsbound.com. You want to know where to go on Bourbon Street? Check with Chris Martin and Marshall.
Marshall definitely know where to go.
Yeah, but will he ever come home? From the 27, 1st and 10. Option. Penix. Not that time. I'm not sure, coming off the hip flexor and the turf toe, that's the play Penix wants to see called in the huddle.
No, you're exactly right on that. To run a stretch play, try and get outside. You know, you're playing against a read and react defense who flows well to the football. Look at the guys in the pursuit angle. You're better off attacking, trying to run right at the Bison. They move too well laterally.
The coach was talking about the resilience of his Minnesota kids.
Warning, Minnesota, their first warning.
Coach Brewster talking about the resilience of the kids after that sideline warning. First one, he said, you know, we had correction Sunday where we had to put the Northwestern game behind us. And then he really was looking at the kids that came in on Monday. He said, that's an option day. You got to look at who's showing up to look at the film, to study the opponent. And he said 100% of the kids who knew they were playing were there on Monday to look at the film to get ready.
And I agree with all that, Jim. But how you measure true resilience is to come back and get a win. And so we'll find out at the end of today just how resilient his team is.
Snap infraction, 77 offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Brinkhouse, the senior out of Bloomington and Jefferson High School, called for that infraction. So it backs Minnesota up 3rd and 14, 3rd and 19 rather. See if you can see him flinch. Yep.
This is where Weber loves to find his big play receiver Will Wright in an isolation See him up top on the screen in the slot.
3rd and 19. Bison, 5 defensive backs. Weber fires. Incomplete at the 7, a little bit high. Great coverage and closing there by North Dakota State. Open for a second. David Earl.
On the Bison that time covered 2, so it's a soft zone. You see the corner sitting, allowing Decker to get behind him. The safety slow reacting over the top. And again, Weber just seems to be a little off sync with his wide receiver, Eric Decker.
They had to throw the net over Adam Weber. He didn't want to come out. He wanted to go for it. Kusick in. Yet another punt. This one he hangs high, end over end. Gophers looking to down it. Hits at the 5. And we've got 34 ticks left before Dave Revson, Howard, Jerry, and the whole gang scores, highlights, and a whole lot more on Big Ten Saturday on the Big Ten Network.
This has been a battle, though, and both teams really doing what they do. Minnesota trying to spread out and go vertical down the field, and the Bison being very physical, sticking with their downhill running style, but also mixing in some passing to keep Minnesota on their heels.
Van went to the Orange Bowl with Tom Osborne in '79, the Cotton Bowl back in '80. Said we're playing better teams like Central Michigan, winner of the MAC, in Minnesota. They've been to 5 straight bowl games. Make our program and our kids better. 1st and 10. They will work on the clock. Big hole and forget the clock. Here we go again. Tyler Roll just explodes. Just tripped up at the 25-yard line. A play that looked like absolutely nothing. He exploded through the hole. He rambled for that first score, 76 yards. Just started running out of oxygen. Look at the hole. Boom.
Well, this is what 1 and 6 teams do. With 34 seconds on the clock, you give up a big run of this proportion. Are you kidding me?
He's having a career here this afternoon. Look at the explosion, the cut back there, and off to the races.
Well, they have bodies in position to make plays. Now, Barber, credit him for not giving up on the play, reeling in Tyler Roll and preventing a touchdown. But I go back to it. When you don't win games, when you're 1 and 6, this is exactly the reason why you give up 200 yards to a running back in only the first half and at critical times. Absolutely unthinkable, Jim.
That first touchdown scamper was 76. That last one was 68. That's a $154 of his 200 yards total on 2 carries, 2 of his 9.
And take nothing away from Tyler Roll. At 228 pounds, it took a while for guys to get down the field and catch him. He's a talented back. The fact is, though, they can't give up those plays in such critical times.
If Barber doesn't close, the Bison are up. Down at the 20-yard line, inside of 15, 14, and counting. Heckendorf on the catch. Will they spike it or get a playoff?
They spike it here.
Used a lot of time to spike it.
Yeah, they did. That falls right on your quarterback, Walker.
Watch the cut and then the acceleration by the junior Tyler Roll out of West Fargo, North Dakota.
Well, and this is 228 pounds coming right at you, and it takes a while. You talk about lack of overall team speed. Now, again, Barber did get him down eventually, the safety, but the pursuit angles just weren't there, and that's also what's been the nemesis for this defense.
Bebo, a 37-yard field goal. Bison back on top in the Metrodome. A terrific first half. North Dakota State came in ranked number 1, Division I AA, and that man. And Coach Brewster, 1 and 6, trying to avoid a 1 and 7 beginning. They have to go to Michigan next week, then Illinois here, then on the road at Iowa and Wisconsin at home. A brutal schedule. Meanwhile, the Fargo Dome And the Great West Conference, Southern Utah awaits the Bison next Saturday.
Well, plays like that, though, Jim, will break your back right before halftime.
All right, let's join Marshall with the coach.
All right, thanks a lot, Jim. Coach, you can't be happy with the way your defense played the run there in the first half.
No, we've got to make some adjustments at halftime, and obviously we've got to take away some of their explosive runs for us to have a chance to win in the second half.
When you talk about your offense, how did you feel about the way they came out, scored quickly, but seemed kind of stall a little bit there going forward?
Yeah, we feel the pressure offensively to try to score every time we've got the ball, and what we've got to do is just relax a little bit. I thought we started pressing a little bit there.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. Jim?
Thank you.
A 1-6 start for the 26th head coach in the history of this storied program. 124 years of Golden Gopher football. He can't wait for the new stadium to open up. More on that in the second half. Meanwhile, Coach Bowl and Mr. Roll, they're on a roll. We're at halftime.
Crowd's fired up here, ready for the second half.
If you're Minnesota and you've had all the missed tackles, if you've had Tyler Roll exploding for 200 yards, what kind of adjustments do you think they've made?
Well, first off, I hope they were doing tackling drills at halftime in the locker room. I mean, serious, because they weren't tackling anyone and they weren't getting off blocks, which is why Tyler Roll had 200 yards. But I think you have to come out and you got to take good pursuit angles to the football if you're Minnesota, and Coach Withers knows that. You got to get population to the ball, continue to get your defenders flying around, and when you have a chance to make a play, you just got to go out and make it.
He did. 9 carries, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, averaging 22 yards a touch.
He plays a lot faster than he looks on tape and studying the film from Tyler Roll.
This one is deep and will not be returned. Touchback. 1st and 10, Bison from their own 20-yard line. Now a penalty flag is down.
Got to play through the glass. You got to keep playing to the whistle.
Did he put his knee down?
I didn't see him put his knee down. You play through the whistle. Refs congregating, trying to figure it out.
Todd Gearlings is the referee. Well, as Lindsey Nelson used to say, this is a conclave of officials.
Cogitate, conclave. We got it all working.
Well, you know, there's going to be one coach that is going to be
The
hot.
runner gave up on the play. Touchback. Touchback. First down on the 20.
Now Coach Brewster would like an explanation. He gave up on the play. He does not take the knee. Starts to walk out.
That's the definition of giving up on a play. He's walking out of the end zone. He just tosses the ball. I mean, this is pretty leisurely. I mean, it reminds me of that play last night with the Louisville game. Guy had a fair catch and ran it back to the house.
That'll be under review for the competition committee during the offseason. A little clearer indication. There goes Tyler Roll again. First down and more. Here comes a penalty flag from way in the backfield. Dominic Barber just clinging to the back of big number 40. Chris Martin was talking about his good speed and his explosiveness. He's an ex-fullback, Tyler Roll, who's having a career here this afternoon against the porous Minnesota defense.
Defense, 5-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
Well, he's one of those guys, Jim, that you just get tired of hitting. You know, tired of tackling because he's a big body at 228. His lower body leg strength, you see it here. He never stops his legs. He knows how to finish runs.
Getting a little bit of a breather as he will go over 250 yards for the game. He may have that on this possession. Walker yanks it down, flares it out, upended near the 45-yard line. Let's go down live to Marshall.
All right, Jim talked to Craig Bowl coming out of halftime, and he says his team doesn't have a chance to really wipe off the score off the scoreboard. That's what they have to do. They can't look at the fact that they're up 3 points right now. They have to focus on the second half and winning this second half. Also talking about Tyler Roll and the day he's having so far. He says teams just tend to misjudge just how fast he is once he gets through that hole. So he's not that surprised by his performance so far.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying earlier, Marshall. On tape, studying him, he doesn't appear to be as fast and as explosive as he is. He plays a lot faster. Minnesota having a tough time making the adjustment to that.
Loose football. Gophers get it back. Pashaw coughed it up, but was it down at midfield? I think it was blown dead.
Yeah, they blew it dead on that one. Again, trying to give Roll a little breather. And then Pascal, who is a change of pace, more of a outside runner, if you will.
Definitely down. Spotted right at midfield. 17-14. Bison on top.
That's quick slants here.
Tyler Roll picks up 1 tough yard. Dominic Barber, Dion Hightower, first of the maroon and gold to get there. Craig Bowl and the Bison 2-8 when he took over this program since he arrived. 39-11 and a 10-game winning streak. That's the longest in major college football, and support of a state that was a little skeptical when he took over. Craig's made believers out of everybody, huh? Including the governor.
Well, it starts with inside the locker room, inside out. Getting your team to believe and then everyone else buying in. And Jim, we may be seeing one of the top 3 punters in all of college football right here.
You surprised they're not going for it on 4th and 2 the way that they've been rolling?
No, I think it's the right call in that decision. Back him up. It's about field position. Minnesota stubbed their toe offensively, make them drive the length of the field.
All right, Chris Martin, let's review the Suzuki keys to the game. Take a look at what you selected earlier. Huh?
Well, we talked about getting downhill, and we saw that with Tyler Roll doing his thing, 259 yards so far, and control the clock. When you can run the ball successfully, it allows you to control the clock. And then Minnesota, what they've done all year, they continue to give up big plays. And we see that on the running, poor tackling, and then offensively, they have to be consistent starting with this drive.
Weber will fire on his first snap, second half. Big hole right side. Duan Bennett explodes. Adam Weber in the first half, 6 out of 13, 77 yards. His longest was 29 yards, and he was sacked once. But there, the young man out of O'Fallon Township High School, Fairview Heights, Illinois, averaging 5 yards per catch.
Well, and watch how quickly he gets top speed. He finds a crease here, and then he has a little burst in his game. He's 5'9", 195, so he has low center of gravity.
Sherrills wide to the left from Minnesota's own 48-yard line. Penix slithers down into Bison territory in the grasp of Michael Brown out of Larimore, North Dakota. 3 solo tackles, 8 assists coming in, the big senior.
Coach Dunbar likes to create illusion. That time they run an inside trap to Penix, but they do it out of a different formation, bringing him back in motion. You've seen that play a number of times today, but it was only the first time we've seen it off of motion action.
Decker comes to the near side. Gophers look at 2nd and 5. Amir Penix, big hole on the right, dances down to the 40-yard line. Another Minnesota first down in the grasp of Humber.
Again, Jim, we talked the inside trap play to Penix, who seems to be functioning pretty well. He's been a little dinged up. Dunbar must have found something on that right side. They continue to follow their right tackle.
Mike in the middle with the glasses, went on vacation with his wife, took 2 computers, looked at 5 hours of film and video screening on the screens, and then asked him what he did. He said, after that, whatever my wife told me we would do. That was our vacation. Wheelwright with a catch at the 37-yard line. Second catch of the game. He had 1 in the first half for 20-some yards. Out of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, Humber, 44. Wisconsin looked at him, Wyoming looked at him, but when he signed with North Dakota State, they thought it was a huge get.
He's another guy that's active, and you just see him making production, getting to the ball, and just always in the right place at the right time. That's how you make big plays.
Weber pulls it down, looking for Simmons. Just bad communication on that one. Timing never looked good, huh?
No, it was bad communication, but it was also a good read. I mean, Kyle Belmont that time didn't go for the wheel fake. You'll see it here. He does a nice job watching the quarterback's eyes, looking up the wheel route, and just taking that play away.
The evolution of Weber last week. They talked about his footwork, about his vision improving so dramatically, and to be honest, opposing coaches thought it was a little suspect until he graduated last week. We'll get back to that after this snap. Great penetration that time by the Bison. Leading the charge, Gratzik out of Argyle, Minnesota, the freshman who came in with 6 solo tackles and 12 assists. Big number 70, Matthew right there, stuffing up the middle. And Tim Brewster was talking about the feet of Adam Weber, and the fact Bill Walsh, all right, the architect of the West Coast offense, says the feet will tell you when it's time to throw the ball.
Well, I'll tell you when it's time to throw the ball and also where you're going to throw the ball. And I think that's what they were saying with Weber.
Gophers down it inside the 5. Can't hang on, and it goes for just a long touchback. That's just sloppy. You've got to make that play.
Oh, yeah, you're right in position again to make plays, and you can't get it done. We'll be back.
Steve Davis is not going to want to look at the film on Monday after he failed to catch a very easy ball right here.
Well, you see it. He has a chance to get the ball within the 5-yard line. And this is exactly what the coaches are talking about. Guys, once again, in position to make plays, and they don't make them. This one on special teams would have given North Dakota State a much further way to go. He has to pull that down, Jim.
Steve Walker at quarterback, 9:10 to go in the 3rd. The margin, a field goal, 37 yards by Sean Bebo, right as the first half expired. And there goes Tyler Roll again. Hey, Superfans, the Big Ten Network is looking for its most passionate fans with Big Ten Superfans. The Big Ten Network wants to reward its loyal viewers with chances to win great prizes like tickets to a Big Ten game, TVs, iPods, and so much more. Register now at BigTenNetwork.com. How about the Bison fans? You and I got out here at 7:30 this morning. Either some were going home from last night's party and then taking a shower, or they were getting a real head start to get to the stadium
I don't think there's any showering going on. They were raised and ready to go.
Over 20,000 of them are here. Tyler Roll gets upended.
That was good convergence to the ball. See the North Dakota State fans coming in droves today.
There are 12,000 North Dakota State alumni that live and work right here in the Twin Cities. So you've got 12,000 fans for the Bison that are here, plus all the folks that came from Fargo and all the spots in the great state of North Dakota for the green and yellow. 62,845 were here a year ago. They beat that this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Over 63,000 are here. And they're seeing a dandy. 640 and counting. Walker caught, and a first down up at the 39-yard line. Heckendorf. Cole Heckendorf, the junior number 9, averaging just under 15 yards a catch. Was a little behind him. That was a huge effort.
Yeah, and it was great blocking up front. This route takes a little while to unfold. Nice job of putting that right through the window to Heckendorf. Way to find the seam. You know you're working against zone coverage. Sit down in the hole.
Pickup of 19 yards. He's number 4 on career receptions for the Bison. He could have run it, dumps it off. This is big again. North Dakota State inside Minnesota territory. That was the young junior, number 25, out of Williston, North Dakota. Had a touchdown in the first half. And how about the play calling? They're really opening things up, huh?
Well, the play calling and the athleticism of North Dakota State. This is a big 250-pound fullback getting out here, catching the ball in space, and then having the ability to accelerate and get down the field.
He wasn't going out of bounds either. He wanted a little piece of that maroon and gold. That's what they were talking about. Smash mouth. They'll come at you like to bloody your nose. Walker, 13 of 15, 131 yards. Tyler Roll, goodbye again. First down again. Green and yellow again. Kyle Thorette out of Denver. J.K. Mullen High School getting his first start at free safety, the freshman. How'd you like to see this kid coming at you?
It's baptism by fire. And what you have to do, Minnesota's defensive line, they are just not getting off of blocks. 233 yards for Tyler Roll.
And 154 of that on 2 carries. One of 76 and the other of 68. First and 10, North Dakota State.
Maybe checking out here.
That is the first sack in a couple of games for the Gophers. Garrett Brown out of New Haven, Connecticut, big number 99. And to be honest, that's what Everett Withers was talking about. He said, you know, in that Northwestern game, we sent 7 against their 6, and we didn't get to their quarterback once.
Well, that time, credit Walker for identifying the blitz in the beginning. He saw it, he checked out, but he just checked out to the wrong play. It wasn't there. Good job, Minnesota, pinning their ears back and getting them on the ground.
Second and 18. Schulten over 21, wide to the top of the screen. Helmets flying, bodies banging. Pashal cracks it near the 25-yard line, 5-10 and counting. Derek Unwachi out of Newhall, California, and Hart High School, number 93. Boom, there goes his helmet.
He just pops right off.
He said, hey, that never happened at the College of the Canyons Junior College when I played there.
Chin strap needs to get adjusted. That thing's got to get a little work done to it on the sideline. Big third down here for the Bison.
Big third down for the Gopher defense as well. 4:40 and counting in the third. Third and 14. Walker airs it out, right corner of the end zone. No flags. Heckendorf, pretty good coverage that time.
It was tight coverage down the field, and coaches talked about it. Coach Withers, he's on an island, so he's playing man up. Watch him turn to the man. Has him in good position. Would have had to have been a great throw by Walker to fit that one in there. Nice job by Minnesota's secondary.
Jeff Curtis, the sophomore, is the long snapper, number 50. Sean Bebo, the sophomore, had that 37-yarder just before intermission. This is a 43-yard try on its way. No good. Minnesota's defense stiffens.
That's a big win for Coach Withers and his troops on defense. Come up and make the play, particularly to get off the field.
Coach Brewster says a little bit of me dies each time we lose. They're still in it, down by 3 when we come back. Jay Thomas, the young man out of Oakdale, Minnesota, number 25 on crutches. The report from Marshall Harris on the sideline, that right knee. Gophers trail by 3, 4:25 left to go in the third, and another whistle.
Ball start, 52 offense. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Chris Martin, here are the U.S. Bank Big Ten Conference standings.
You see it, Ohio State still out in front, but Michigan's really actually been playing well. They've been playing like the number 2 team, particularly on the defensive side of the ball.
And you and I at Illinois next week. We'll get a chance to see Ron Zook and the Fighting Illini. Decker wide to the left on 1st and 15. He's got it. Breaks it over the 30-yard line out of Cold Spring, Minnesota. Threw for 1. Came in with 7 catches in the end zone, but his first touchdown toss to get things off to a rousing beginning. Gophers scored on their 3rd play.
No, on this it's a tandem, too. Wheelwright and Decker. They're the top tandem in the Big Ten in terms of receiving yardage.
Came in with 85 catches and 14 touchdowns between them. 50% of Minnesota's catches. Adam Weber, over 2,000 yards and counting. Only freshman on the fastest route to 2,000 yards in passing, and he has tied the record set by Mike Hohensee back in 1982.
And that's just sensational. Corey Sauter's guy played against back in '95. But Weber just continues to grow and evolve into the offense. He's still learning it, obviously, but he's feeling more confident in what he's doing.
And the coaches are adding more plays each week. Weber chased out of bounds. Scampered around that left side.
Talked to Coach Dunbar about Weber, and he says he's just seeing the field so well. He knows where his wide receivers are supposed to be. He knows where the running backs are supposed to be to execute. Again, it's rhythm and timing, so they have to be in sync. But he's the guy, he's been masterful at learning this spread attack.
After that pickup of 11, Duwan Bennett cracks it near the 45. It was really interesting listening to Coach Brewster yesterday talk about the late, great Bill Walsh, the architect of the West Coast, and kind of to reprieve, feet don't fail me now. I mean, the feet of a quarterback tell you when to release the ball and where to go with your progressions, right?
Well, a lot of times, exactly, you have errant throws because your footwork's not down. And they said they've worked on that with their quarterback, and it's helped him in his accuracy.
Sherrills wide to the left. Batted down at the line of scrimmage. 2:37 left in the third, and the man that batted it down was Kristen Dallas out of Gainesville, Florida. 1 forced fumble, 1.5 sacks for the Bison so far this year. The 6'3" senior, number 96. Take a look right here.
Well, it's a great job of first keeping his feet clean. He fights off the cut block, and what you tell your defenders is if you can't get to the quarterback, get your arms up. Nice job of Dallas that time. Again, spread attack. You know it's going to be a lot of 3-step, a lot of quick passes. Get those arms in the air.
Gophers only 2 out of 8 on 3rd down conversions. They need to keep this drive alive. Weber, the receiver, turned it inside. That's Spry. The ball was thrown outside. And a penalty flag is down at the 48-yard line of Minnesota. Roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer, number 70. Defense, 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Gratzik, Matthew Gratzik.
Bails Minnesota out. See Weber here. Takes a late shot by Gratzik.
And high.
Yeah, he took 2 more steps before he engaged Weber. That's an easy call.
If that's an engagement, I want a divorce.
I think Weber would agree with you.
from the 31. Bennett breaks one tackle, and then about 5 green and gold jerseys, or green and yellow jerseys, arrive.
Fast flowing defense. You see Joe Mays. He's the Mike linebacker, so he's the man in the middle. The thing about the Bison, they're always playing downhill, meaning they attack the football. They go after the ball carriers, and they're quick at getting there. Teams that typically have the most success against spread attacks, from what I've seen, are teams that can run and teams that have speed on the defensive end of the field.
Wheelwright's got single coverage, bottom of the screen. They flare it out to Duan Bennett. Little screen. Breaks it, and the Gophers will take the lead. No flags. 32 yards. Duan Bennett. He's got 2 on the ground. That was his first in the air. Watch Steve Scheidel, 64, with a massive block. The big senior out of Coon Rapids High School, Coon Rapids, Minnesota. Wheelwright with a block.
They're looking for somebody to make a big play, and Duan Bennett was that guy. I mean, came at the right time. Again, a nice call by Dunbar, keeping the defense off balance. Good explosiveness to find the end zone.
Monroe, extra point, 1:43 left to go. It's been a good one. Chris Martin's alongside, Marshall Harris on the sidelines. 1:43 left to go in the third. We'd like to welcome those of you watching that Wisconsin game. Minnesota scored 3 plays in, and they led 7-0, but then the Bison came roaring back, got a field goal just before halftime. 17-14 was our score there. But Duan Bennett, number 22, on the receiving end, a 32-yard pass from Adam Weber, and Minnesota, with a record of 0-4 in the Big Ten, takes their lead 21-17. Another look.
Well, it's a good play call, and at the right time. You know you have a fast-flowing defense, so you do a little screen to Duan Bennett. He fights off the contact and gets over there, daps up the Gopher.
For those of you just joining us, stick around. You want to watch number 40 right there, Tyler Roll. Quite a young man, the junior. 5'10", 228 pounds. He has been explosive. 2 carries of 76 and 68 yards. He had 200 yards by his lonesome in the first half. All on the ground. Washington breaks a couple of tackles. First and 10 from the 25. All right, let's talk about, first it was Tyler Roll's 76 yards, and that tied it up.
Well, it's just a little lateral technically, and watch how quickly he gets up the field. And again, I think they weren't expecting Tyler Roll to have that type of vertical speed.
37 seconds left to go before halftime. You think they're running out the clock, right?
Well,
wrong. There he goes again. Big hole. Slithers through on the left side. Dominic Barber, 23. Otherwise, it's his second touchdown run of the first half. Huge numbers for the man out of West Fargo, North Dakota.
One of those backs, he gets stronger as the game goes. And then he starts to win those attrition plays.
Washington scampers out of bounds near the 33-yard line, bumped out by the freshman Curtis Thomas, number 9.
Washington's another interesting guy, and watching tape on him, he took I think it was a punt last week back 96 yards for a touchdown, so you know he's quickness, quick twitch. Like to get a little squirt of him in there. Power football, though. Come back and do what you do.
Roll number 40 is the tailback. Walker with the audible. Pulls it back in. Fires. Hammered down at the 37-yard line. Dominic Barber, the leading tackler for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. How about 364 days ago? This was Bebo, then a freshman. It gave North Dakota State the lead. Minnesota gets the game's only touchdown with 10:35 left to go. in regulation. And then a 42-yard field goal try by Bebo, blocked. And the Gophers hung on to win it. Since then, North Dakota State has won 10 in a row.
They've made every day count since, and they've also been counting the days so when they could get back and play Minnesota. The win's definitely on their mind.
Another first down for the green and gold. Jangala out of Williston, North Dakota. He had a touchdown reception in the first half.
Jangala's an interesting guy. You would think 6'2", 244 that he'd be more of a masher, but he's showing you that he can get out. He has soft hands, pulls it in, sits down in the zone, good awareness. So again, Pat Perlis, offensive coordinator, mixing his plays up for the Bison, keeping Minnesota's linebackers off balance.
Walker 15 of 18, 151 yards and 1 touchdown. That time the maroon and gold all gathered around number 40, Tyler Roll.
If you're at home, you're probably thinking, why doesn't Minnesota bring the heat and bring the fire on Walker with blitzes? And it's a relatively simple answer. They don't have the confidence in their secondary to hold up in coverage. So they don't want to put those guys in too many one-on-one situations where they can be exposed.
That's Everett Withers, if you've just joined us, the 44-year-old defensive coordinator, trying to get some horses. He was an outstanding defensive back and a captain at Appalachia State, and if his 11 guys played like him, it'd be a different record. We start the fourth quarter. Welcome back live. The Metrodome in Minneapolis. The Gophers on top, 21-17. Bison's ball. Majeski wide to the left. Walker looks over that Golden Gopher defense. Flares it out. Alex Belquist hammered out of bounds at the 35, but another first down. How about the FCS and the coaches poll? Number 1. Of course, they're at the end of their 5-year transition from Division II to Division I AA, ineligible for a bowl, and the coach says we want to do everything we can to return Bison football to national prominence, and for this season that means earning recognition in the national polls. That's our national championship.
Absolutely. You saw Appalachian State, what a job they've done, shocking the world against Michigan.
My goodness, is this young man just putting on an outstanding performance. Curtis Thomas hanging on but needed some help. Only 5'10", 228 pounds.
And at some point, Jim, it's hard to discern whether it's more of what he's doing or what Minnesota's just not doing. I mean, you got guys that are out of position. No one's converging on the ball. And if you noticed, he's been able to get to the second level way too many times today.
It's his speed, his explosiveness. We saw it just before the half when he was backed up in the shadows of his own end zone. We saw it on the first run, 76 yards, when he outran the secondary. Dominic Barber, a closer, couldn't come close. I mean, it was like trying to chase down Secretariat.
And where's the defensive front? I mean, all these tackles are being made by your safeties. Where are the linebackers? You can't let him get on your safeties. If your safeties are the leading tacklers, you know you have problems.
They've got problems when 58's not in there. Mike Sherrills, the senior linebacker. Shevlin, Hightower, Davis trying to pick up the slack. Hightower moved over from the weak side to the middle when Sherrills is not in. 1st and 10 for the Bison. That's the first time he's been stopped behind the line of scrimmage. First to arrive, Dion Hightower out of Mansfield Summit High School back in Arlington, Texas. That was helmet to helmet.
Yeah, he's a thumper, and you'll see it here. This is a big pop. Now you're getting penetration. That's how you stop running plays. You want to get him on the ground, run through contact, and body him up like Hightower did just there. That's a nice tackle. You know Roll's feeling that one. And this offense, again, this isn't a very sexy offense. They're running the exact same plays. Minnesota has to continue to defend.
Pashal inside the 10, first and goal for the Bison. Curtis Thomas, the freshman, getting a lot of work.
Jim, there's no secret in that in the offseason, Minnesota is going to go out and recruit for speed. And they're going to recruit for speed on both sides, but particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And I think it's been pretty evident in facing the Bison that they're having a tough time, not only with roll, but with the receivers and the overall speed of their offense.
First and goal spotted at the 8. North Dakota State trying for the go-ahead touchdown. Slithering down near the 7-yard line, brings up second and goal. Well, it was interesting. I asked Coach Everett Withers, the defensive stalwart and coordinator, yesterday about recruiting. With a team, you're 1-6, 1-7. You got 4 opponents left in the Big Ten coming up: Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan next week. He said, "You know what?" He said, "We tell a kid, you can go to Ohio State, you can be number 4 or 5 on the depth chart, or you can come here to a program and you can start immediately for us next year." He's very honest. I mean, he's very forthright.
Yeah, he's a straightforward guy, and you're right. I mean, that's the selling tool. You can play, and you can play immediately. You're not going to go stand in line at some of these other bigger schools.
Walker pulls it down, fires in the end zone. Touchdown! Thor Brown out of Fall Creek, Wisconsin. His first touchdown reception of the year. The sophomore, 6'4", 252. You can't get much more wide open. Walker laid it in there perfectly.
And again, just a beautiful call by Pat Perlis. Nice fake here to freeze the linebackers. You see them crash down, and Thor Brown's able to drag across the field. Good delivery by Walker.
This game has gone seesaw back and forth since the opening kickoff. 12:56 to go. Bebo on the point after. Second scoring strike of the game for Walker. Another look at the sophomore. Watch Walker. He's out there all alone. The drag, the catch, and the lead. The green and yellow faithful, they are excited again. There are over 20,000 that have come here from the great state of North Dakota, having a good time in the Twin Cities, and why not? Their team is back on top. 12:56 left to go in regulation. You almost hate to use that word, overtime, the way the Gophers have been in the extra sessions, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, game extensions aren't good, or haven't been good for the Gophers.
63,000 plus into the Metrodome. Sherrill's back at the 6. Gets a hole. Great return and good field position for the Gophers, who come roaring right back. They'll start from their own 42. Schamer out of Prescott, Wisconsin, number 29, stopped him after this 37-yard return.
Good job of following the blocking, kicking out the defensive guys for the Bulls. And that's what you need. And go back to that. You got to have guys making plays. Minnesota, they know that this game's about field position. Good job of setting it up for the offense, giving Weber a chance to move the ball down the field.
Duane Bennett could not hang on. That was kind of a sloppy looking screen. Time now, partner Chris Martin, for our Liberty Mutual Alumni Spotlight screen. You played against Daryl Thompson, didn't you?
No, and he was a stud. Yeah, you talk about downhill runners, very productive. He could go outside, inside. He was a load to tackle. I'm still feeling the pain from wrapping him up. He was a special football player here. Could catch the ball out the backfield. Truly one of the greats for the Golden Gophers.
Moonlighting over there in WCCO AM radio booth. They've been the voice of the Gophers forever. Dropped at the 48-yard line. Spry, who had a pretty good first half, that time you got to look the ball in, catch it first before you worry about running, huh?
And we talked about the consistency of the offense. The last 2 plays, first with Duane Bennett putting the ball on the carpet with a drop. That time Spry, ball hits him right in his hands. They have to be consistent, make plays when their number's called.
This might be gut check time for both teams. The Bison on defense, Gophers on offense. 3rd and 10. Difference is a field goal. Blitz is on. Weber picks it up. Wheelwright goes up. Bison goes up. Intercepted, North Dakota State. Wheelwright had it taken right away. Huge play, might be the deal breaker.
And this is major league play against a very talented wide receiver.
Keep your eye on number 4 out of Sugar Land, Texas. Let's see if Nate goes up and takes it away. Look at the height difference.
Well, there's height difference. This is blanket coverage. It's man-to-man. This is saran wrap coverage. He's all over him, and then he just goes up and makes the play. I mean, he just takes it away from Wheelwright.
That's 5'8" against 6'5". That's an unbelievable effort.
Jump balls are all about timing. Excellent play.
And effort. Steve Walker looks over the middle. Got all day to run. First down, North Dakota State. Now take another look at Wheelwright. He is 6'5". He's a senior. This is against a 5'8" junior.
But he attacks the ball, and that's the thing. He goes up like a rebound in basketball, gets it at the highest point. That's how you body up a 6'5" receiver.
Approaching 12 minutes left in regulation. Tyler Roll, not much doing behind Harrington and Wagner. Last week against Northwestern, and this one's not even close to being over.
Well, and you just can't come up with enough adjectives to describe how bad the defense has been. I mean, you talk about not only giving up big plays, but not getting off the field 3rd down, poor tackling, not rallying to the ball. All recipes for disaster for Coach Brewster.
And for Coach Withers. Over 1,100 yards in the last 2 games, and this one still got 11:15 left to go. Little flare. Landon Smith out of Dickinson, North Dakota. Backup tight end, 6'2", a redshirt freshman. Indiana at Wisconsin at high noon Eastern time, 11 o'clock. In Madison. Northwestern at Purdue, also an 11 o'clock kickoff. We'll be at the Ball State, Illinois game at 11 o'clock, so I want you in early for bed check next week.
Of course. Northwestern, Purdue, they could score 100 points between the 2 of them in that contest.
Coach Bowl checking the clock, 11:10 when this one snapped. Using all of the play clock. Walker chased out, hit, incomplete. Got a break. And Walker is going to be very slow to get up. He got sandwiched.
Minnesota bringing the heat. Rarely have they blitzed today.
Watch Raymond Henderson, number 90. Hello.
Wasn't expecting that. And then the finish shot.
Lee Campbell also there, the sophomore out of Naples, Florida. Minnesota's given up 500+ yards in 6 out of 8 games. Now this is interesting. You're leading by 3. You're in the other guy's building. From the 30, no point in punting. Gophers were surprised, and they quickly called timeout.
Their first timeout.
Coach Withers wants to sharpen the pencils on the sideline.
This will be immediate timeout.
We'll be back.
Nate Agbatola, the 5'8" junior out of Sugar Land, Texas, came up with that huge interception, outfought Wheelwright. Once again, Minnesota's offense coming up with a turnover at a terrible time in the football game, which is what Coach Brewster was talking about yesterday. Turnovers and explosive plays, and the Bison have had both. First down and more. North Dakota State going for it on 4th and 2, and why not? You gained over 500 yards. What's another measly 2?
Well, you're exactly right. Usually on this play, it would take a lot more thought But I'm sure for Coach Bull, he knew right away. He's saying here clearly, our team is better than yours, and we're going to show you. We have 518 yards. You haven't stopped us all day long. Certainly wouldn't have reason to think that you would stop us on a 4th and 2.
We've been on a pretty fast track since I came here. Called it a collaborative effort. Coach Bull did between the university president, the athletic department, and the entire community. Said we've recruited a bunch of overachievers. Lee Campbell on the stop.
Good job of Campbell shooting the gap. See the fans into the game. Over 20,000, Jim.
That's more than their home stadium back there, the Fargo Dome. Over 24,000, right, are here. And I mentioned 12,000 North Dakota State alumni live and work right here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul. Huge following. And of course, 33 players on the Bison roster hail from the land of 10,000 lakes. Didn't get a look from the University of Minnesota program at all. Something for the kids and the parents to be proud of. He has turned the program around in Fargo and the great state of North Dakota. The Bison are up by a field goal, and they're on the move after going for it on 4th and 2. From the 24, Walker inside the 20. Talked about his 2-8 record when he arrived, 39-11 since then, and that 10-game winning streak, the longest in major college football, and the support of a state. I mean, it's a stampede of support now, igniting those passions on the prairie. The school identity helped out with recruiting. Their last loss was here 364 days ago. Since then, 10 in a row. Heckendorf wide to the left.
Certainly bought into his vision.
3rd and 8 over the middle. Tyler Roll, 1st and goal, Bison.
Bison converting again on 3rd down, where Minnesota has already shown you they're vulnerable. This time Walker's hanging in the pocket, allowing this little drag route to unfold. Roll showing you that he can catch the rock as well.
He's rushed 17 times, 252 yards, and 1 touchdown. Had Dominic Barber not closed, he would have had 2. 1 of 76 and 1 of 68. 1st and goal just inside the 10. 2nd and goal from the 9 coming up. Talking about Tyler Roll, West Fargo High School, the Packers, South Fargo High School, the Bruins back there. Jeremy Wurzbacher, the tight end. How did they become Bison? They were watching together the North Dakota State University of Montana game on television. Tyler Roll drove over to Jeremiah's house. They watched it there. That was a record-breaking game, 25-24. The Bison won against Montana on TV, and Tyler Roll and Jeremiah said, we want to be a part of that program. And they have led the way ever since, and both will be back next year. 2nd and goal. 3rd and goal coming up.
That time they're attacking the freshman cornerback, Collado, who struggled all year, but he makes a good job of recovering here. This is just a fade route to give your receiver a chance to go get it. Collado is able to swipe and knock the ball out. The fade route goes up. You see the hand come in right at the end. It's certainly a catchable ball by Hawkendorf.
This is a must defensive stand for the Gophers. You don't get a sense they'll come from 10 back. Majeski wide to the left. Wurzbacher out of Fargo in motion to the right. Wurzbacher out of bounds down at the 2.5.
Another interesting decision for Coach Bull. I think he's going to go ahead with the field goal. Get those points. points on the board. And that's the right call in this situation, Jim. You have the momentum, keep it rolling. Minnesota's offense stubbed their toe a few times today.
It'll be the toe of Sean Bebo, 5'11", the sophomore from White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Had 3 field goals a year ago. Just bangs that one through. We've got 7:46 left to go in regulation. His 2 field goals, the difference so far. Chris Martin up in the press box with us. Marshall Harris patrolling the sidelines. Glad you're back with us live on the Big Ten Network. It's been a whale of a football game. Over 63,000 have jammed their way into the Metrodome here in Minneapolis. North Dakota State University on top by 6. 7:46 left to go in regulation. Hard to tell who the home team is, isn't it? Green and yellow for the Bison, maroon and gold for the Gophers. Great spirit, both schools. Huge crowd.
They're getting their money's worth on both sides. All the efforts there.
At the 1.5, Marcus Sherrills had a good return the last time. This time banged backwards like a bowling ball. Let's go back to January 1st of '06. Madison, Wisconsin. North Dakota State. A big upset, huh? Wisconsin, I think, what were they, 13th in the nation back then?
Number 13.
Bison came in 10 up, 9 down. Wisconsin, that snapped a 27-game home win streak. Coach Ryan at home. But the green and gold prevailed in Madison.
I think the big thing is that I've been most impressed with is the athleticism. I mean, you think North Dakota State, it's 1AA, FCS, but they have a lot of athletes on the field, guys that could play at Big Ten school.
Little pitch out. Bennett tries to cut it back against the grain. Gets close to the 19-yard line. Dave, we got a dandy here. What have you got going on back in the studio? Iowa will be hosting these Gophers in 3 weeks. You'll be able to see it on the Big Ten Network as Decker goes wide to the left. 2nd and a long 3. Weber pulls it down, sandwiches his way just barely across the 20-yard line in the grasp of Joe Mays, the junior or the senior linebacker out of Chicago. Not great at the 100-yard dash. The Bison coaches will tell you about number 8. But when the ball is moving, he plays a lot faster. That's the book on number 8.
Well, and he has the one thing you can't teach, instincts. He knows where to be. He flies around, and he's in a very instinctive linebacker. All the great ones possess that quality.
Gophers need 2 to keep the ball. Bennett, bang backwards, will not get the first down.
Jim, that was about as big a hit as you will see. Bennett got completely turned around upon impact. Watch it here. He's completely turned around facing the other direction. You talked about Joe Mays, how stout he is. He brought the wood on that play.
Helped out by Grotzik, number 70. Taking no chance of a turnover. We've got 5:40 left to go in the ball game. Bison by 6 here in Minneapolis. 46 yards on that punt. I think that's got to be the Cooper Tires' big stop of the game so far.
Well, just the impact of this hit. Again, watch it. On defense, you want your guys to create a collision. That time, just stopped him at the point of attack. Bennett was running towards his own goal line by the end of that hit. That's how much force was created.
Eckendorf, number 9, wide at the bottom of your screen. And I'd expect North Dakota State to start working on that clock, keep it on the ground. Tyler Roll, right side, blocking there by Keith Buckman. And Tyler LeCang. Steve Davis, 56 from St. Louis, on the stop.
Yeah, Yeah, they're going to stick with the formula, continue to pound it out. Why not? It's worked for you all day. The other advantage North Dakota State has when pounding the football, Jim, is that they have very talented offensive linemen and they have depth. I mean, the clear mismatch here is the depth of the two teams. North Dakota State pretty stacked at every position. Minnesota very thin.
On 2nd and 5. First down, North Dakota State University. Binko out of Imperial, California.
Downhill run.
Look at that. Season average.
That's completely staggering. I mean, look at that. I mean, and that's why Brewster looks like a deer in the headlights. I mean, they keep hammering their team about playing defense, getting in position, executing your assignment, and then these guys go out there and they do just the opposite.
Not one single 3 and out for the Bison today. 4:20 left to go in this one, Dave. What's going on Penn State and Indiana? Thank you, Dave. His father is a huge Penn State fan. He's back in Easton, Pennsylvania, probably flipping back and forth, or maybe he's got 2 satellite dishes, one on direct and one on dish, watching both games. Tim Brewster's dad, who he says is the most optimistic person in the world. Another first down for North Dakota State and almost broke it.
Well, you can have optimism, but you have to also have a defense that can go out and just play hard-nosed football, because they have been out-muscled all day long by the Bison, particularly up front in the trenches. Guys are just getting thrown around. Minnesota has taken the punch, and they have not fought back, at least defensively.
Tyler Roll has twice as many yards himself on the ground as the entire Gopher team. Talking about that man's dad's optimism. He works 8 days a week, or 6 days a week, 8 hours a day back there in Pennsylvania. And he's told Tim Brewster, he said, son, you can outwork the other guy, and then you will see results at the end of the day. That's what his dad told his son about their 1-6 beginning.
And you know, Brewster, he is a glass half full type of coach. He's always going to go in with energy, enthusiasm, but he also wants his guys to respond. I mean, he knows that his team is they're going to follow his personality. If he starts to give up, capitulate, his guys will do the same.
Well, they've got Michigan at the Big House next week. Illinois comes in here in 2 weeks, then on the road at Iowa, and then they finish up Wisconsin at home. We asked him yesterday if this was a must-win game. He said no, but it's a must-improve game. Walker moves the chains. Tim Brewster was honest. He said, guys, he said, I didn't know what kind of a team we were going to be this year, to be honest, when I took over. To be totally honest, the new system, the new schemes takes time, trying to change the culture, as is Coach Withers on defense. We talked about missed tackling, the art of tackling being a lost art, Brewster did. He said you can look at any team today. Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, doesn't matter. He said you can count on one hand the number of players on any college team that tackles the way we were taught to tackle back in Pop Warner football. I thought that was a very interesting analogy. Huh?
Well, and he also went on to say that in today's game, it's more about the team that gives up the least amount of explosive plays as opposed to the team that wins the turnover battle. And again, his guys staying true to form, giving up the big plays consistently today.
The brand new stadium. It'll be opening up September 12th in 09. They got a $10 million grant yesterday, the largest single gift the University of Minnesota Athletic Department's ever had. It came from the Shakopee Sioux community, part of a new $288 million stadium. The band owns the Mystic Lake Casino, and we'll get the naming rights to the plaza. Probably it'll be the Dakota's people named to honor the Minnesota bands, according to the tribal chairman, Stanley Crooks. A historic place. And how about that? I mean, the big smile on Coach Brewster yesterday. He pointed with pride to the great history of the program here. He said, but none of the Minnesota history, football history, happened here at the Dome. He said, can you imagine when we recruit that class for '09 and they're the first bunch to come out in that brand new stadium and lead our team out? I mean, he just talked with pride about it, and it's 2 years away.
Yeah, no question about it, and it will certainly help out in the recruiting battle. State-of-the-art facility, and really will capture, you know, everything that Minnesota is about and the legacy that's here.
I'd like to welcome those of you watching Northern Illinois and Wisconsin. This has been a great game. The Gophers scored on their first possession, 3 plays. North Dakota State's come roaring back. They lead by 6. We've got 3:08 left to go in regulation. 2nd and 10 from the 44 of Minnesota. They keep it on the ground. Tyler Roll's been brilliant for the green and yellow. Carries of 76 and 68 yards in the first half. He had 9 carries, 200 yards in the first half, and the last time that Minnesota gave up 250 yards plus rushing was back in 2002 against Wisconsin. Anthony Davis had 301 yards for the Badgers back then.
Well, if you look at even the demeanor, though, of Minnesota's defense, there's no sense of urgency. They're down 6 points with plenty of time. Get out there and make a play. Put your offense back on the field.
Timeout, North Dakota State, their second charge timeout.
Just barely got timeout called there.
This will be a 30-second timeout, 30 seconds.
Reminiscent of Appalachian State and Michigan, perhaps. This is just huge for Coach Bowl and the Bison program, isn't it?
Yeah, and you talk about Appalachian State, the spread attack that struck Michigan early and really has been tough for them to defend all year. They have talented receivers, but to me, what this demonstrates is that you have athleticism and speed on 1AA FCS teams. And there's players everywhere that can play at these bigger schools.
How about Division I AA victories over Big Ten schools? The Wildcats went down to New Hampshire. Indiana lost out to Southern Illinois, and of course the Wolverines in the upset of the year, maybe many years.
And it speaks volumes to the parity in college football.
25 when the ball is snapped. Walker yanks it down, finds his tight end, Wurzbacher. Penalty flag is down in the backfield, however. That's huge for both sides. Backs the Bison up.
It was interesting.
Holding, 65 offense, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat, 3rd down.
Walker is 20 out of 25, 191 yards and 2 touchdowns. When you talk to the coaches, especially Pat Perlis, he says, you know, when you go out and recruit, you're looking at height, you're looking at weight, you're looking at speed, but the hardest thing to evaluate is the most important thing, and that's heart and leadership. And they talk about Steve having so much of those 2 ingredients. Perla says they're just oozing out of his ears. You can't explain it. He's just got it. It's one of those intangibles.
He's got it, and I'd add another one to it. He's a winner. I mean, you talk to Coach Everett Withers, defensive coordinator for Minnesota. He said this kid's like Brett Favre for the Green Bay Packers. And if you saw that last play, the jump pass, it kind of reminded you of that.
Great point. Almost. That was the kind of hit that could have caused a turnover. Helmet right on the ball. Kevin Mannion out of Germantown, Wisconsin. Germantown High School.
Minnesota, their final timeout.
So the Gophers out of timeouts.
This will be a 30-second timeout.
It was funny talking to Coach Withers about preparing for the Bison. He, of course, was a defensive back coach for the Tennessee Titans before becoming the defensive coordinator here, and he said he looked at the film and and the tape, and he said it was just like getting ready to play the Green Bay Packers. He even did his cutouts and put Walker up there and said, oh, man, I'm looking at a mirror of Brett Favre. Huh?
Yeah, he had his guys look at that tape and the other coaches. But that's how much respect he has for the Bison and the job that they've done all year long with a balanced offensive potent attack. Minnesota knew coming into this game that they were playing a great football team that can beat you in a number of ways.
Roughing the punter, and this one will be just about over because the Gophers are out of timeouts. You talk about mistakes, you talk about discipline, you talk about turnovers.
Jim, my college coach used to tell me if you don't beat yourself, you only play against one team. And Minnesota today, they have played against two teams.
Roughing the kicker, number 23 of the defense, 15-yard penalty from the previous spot.
Didn't get any of the ball, did get the ankles. And that's just not the kind of mistake you expect or you see from Dominic Barber and his senior leadership.
Well, that's exactly to finish that point. Minnesota playing against two teams, playing the Bison and then playing themselves. They have beaten themselves. You talked about it. There's been a number of penalties, guys making mistakes and mental breakdowns. Those are things that somehow 1-6 teams just always find a way to do.
Tyler Roll just bangs it forward near the 32. Gophers out of timeouts. Our Suzuki Way of Life Honor Roll. A look at Amir Penix, chosen as our Suzuki Way of Life Honor Roll standout and student athlete out of Malcolm X Shabazz High School. Trying to show some of that senior leadership that we were talking about. Turf toe, hip flexor. Last week against Northwestern, he wasn't supposed to play. He said, Coach, my teammates need me. Put me in. He scored a touchdown.
Yeah, he's been a warrior for these guys all year long. Battled through some injuries. And really a joy to talk to.
First down at the 15-yard line. 53 ticks left before Craig Bohl, the 49-year-old head coach out of Lincoln, Nebraska, learned so much from Tom Osborne. Ask him his biggest influence. He said, of course, Osborne was a major impact. He was my mentor. Taught me about caring for people and making the players feel needed and important. What he learned from Don Morton, his predecessor at North Dakota State. He said he was a great organizer, a CEO mind. Guess what? Mr. Morton is a senior vice president of Microsoft. And Fred Goldsmith at Rice and Duke. He said, from him I learned sound football fundamentals and how to be a little bit more demanding. Congratulations to the Bison and Craig Bohl. They come in here and they improve their record to 40-11 in Craig Bohl's 5th year. 11 victories in a row. Their last loss 364 days ago here in the Twin Cities.
Well, I'll tell you what I learned, that this is a very talented football team, offensively, defensively, special teams. They are athletic to a man. And what I've also learned is Minnesota's got to go back to the lab. And they got to start with that defense. They better go back to that tackling circuit because they will continue to be a porous defense from that standpoint.
Listen to the Bison faithful.
And they should be fired up. These guys came in here, went toe-to-toe, and just took it to Minnesota on their home turf.
Here's Marshall Harris.
All right, Coach, first ever win against a Big Ten team. How big is this win for your program?
Well, we feel really good about it. Our players had a great deal of confidence coming in. I think we're a good football team, and I'm really pleased on how our guys played. We about got it done last year. We got it done this year. We had to make it a little bit harder, but we're really proud of our players.
What does this do for the confidence of this team, especially in a year where you can't go to the playoffs?
We're striving for national recognition, to be recognized as the top team in our division. It's another step forward. It's another game. We got to get ready to win this next week, but certainly it's a good win, and we're going to enjoy it.
Talk about the play of Tyler Roll in this one.
Well, Tyler's a dynamic player. He's unselfish. He was a fullback last year. and he's got more speed than what people think. And a lot of people doubted whether we should play him at tailback, and he's a good player.
All right, thanks and congratulations, Coach. Jim?
So the Fargo Dome will be a buzz. A Great West showdown next week against Southern Utah. Huge game. Tyler Rolls. First time in the series that North Dakota State has beaten Minnesota, and this series goes back to 1898. Meanwhile, for Tim Brewster and the Gophers, Coach Brewster says a little bit of me dies inside every time we lose. They will fall to 1-7 and have to go to the Big House and take on Michigan on the road next week. For Marshall Harris, Chris Martin, and our entire Big Ten Network crew, it's been a dandy. We'll say so long. The Bison over the Gophers by 6. Big Ten Network football is brought to you by U.S. Bank, home of the 5-star service guarantee. By Yamaha ATVs, ain't nothing tougher than a Yamaha. And by Buffalo Wild Wings, you have to be here.